got a chance to see Werewolves with Frank Grillo. Let's talk about it right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I am your host, Frank Zenka. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker. And yeah, so if we're talking about comics, we're talking about horror. I have my vampire mob set in 1950s Hollywood, Lords of LA. I am fulfilling issue 2 right now. This is issue 1. And I am fulfilling issue 2 to my donors right now through Kickstarter. But if you would like one, I am signing them. You can just comment in the comment section and I will reply. So this is one of the covers here. We have a samurai cover. And then we have a katana cover. And the interior art it's a little bit adult. There is some, definitely some blood and guts. But you can see we have a werepanther in there and stuff like that. Lots of fun. So if you like a copy, let me know, because I am doing that. Plus, we are doing a venture with Moonstone Books, and we're doing a Green Hornet written by one of the writers is Timothy Zahn, who created Thrawn for Star Wars, as well as Kevin J. Anderson, who did Dune, among other things, with cover art by Batman artist and Grendel artist Matt Wagner. So a lot of great stuff. Anyway, you can check the link in the description below, and you can sign up for when we launch that in the end of January. All right, it's going to be the 50th anniversary, so definitely jump on that. So let's talk about Werewolves. This was starring and executive produced by Frank Grillo. And why was the executive producer? Either A, he lent his name to get money raised, or he was one of the people that helped get the cast, because they had a really good cast in here for being a low-budget film. And make no mistake, this is a low-budget film. And so there was Katrina Law in here. She is from Spartacus. Amongst other things, I think she's on Hawaii Five-0 now, I think. Anyway, she's been on one of those procedural shows, cop shows, for a while now, been probably a few years. She was also in Arrow, so she's really good. And it was unfortunate we didn't get to see her do a whole lot of action here, because she's definitely more on the action level. And Frank Grillo is more on the action level also. Of course, he was Crossbones in the second Avengers movie, I believe, Age of Ultron. And I think he was also in Winter Soldier as well. I think that's where the end was, where Black Widow had the mask on, the hollow mask. But anyway, so he was one of the guys that Captain America fought in the elevator. But yeah, Frank Grillo's also done The Purge, and this feels like a very Purge movie. And we'll get into the plot in just a second here. But it was also great to see Lou Diamond Phillips again. I haven't seen him in forever. The last time I saw him actually was I bumped him into at the grocery store when I lived in the Valley in California, because I think he lived in Sherman Oaks or something to that effect. He didn't live far from me. So I bumped into him at the grocery store. But this was, I didn't recognize any of the production companies here. In fact, I'm going to look them up. But I looked up what the budget was, and nobody can tell me right now. But if this thing was over $10 million, I'm going to be really shocked. I'm thinking that it was more around the $7 or $8 million range. And this was directed by Stephen C. Miller. He did the original Extraction, not the ones that the Russo brothers did, but the other one that had Bruce Willis in it and Gina Carano. That's the only thing I've seen that he's done. And then the writer was Matthew Kennedy, and he's done only 3 films. And one of them, and 2 of them were this year, Werewolves being one of them, and the second one being Canary Black, with Kate Beckinsale, which I haven't watched yet, but that's on streaming. And I think this was meant to be a streaming film, so I don't think they're going to have problems getting their money back on the streaming side. I think this was just purely, let's see if we could throw it out there, and it being a slow week for, releases, the theaters just took it and said, hey, we'll see what happens with it. So I don't think it'll be in the theaters long. It was very ambitious, I think, for the budget it did. I mean, they did a car crash into a bus. So they had a little money for little things here and there. I wish they had dumped more money into the werewolf suits. I was not a big fan of the werewolf suits. I thought that they moved decently. Some of the running effects were pretty good, but the face on them, not very good. So overall, it's a low-budget film. It's exactly what I thought it was going to be when I walked in the door, and that is like middle of the road, very average to a little bit below average type of film, but fun nonetheless if you like werewolf movies. Same thing where it's, Frank Grillo is playing, a microbiologist. He doesn't fit the microbiologist at all. Also in the film is, I know I'm going to mess this up, I think it's two eyes. Infanish Hedera. She's really good too. She's from Billions. So again, they really had some really good stuff. And then the little girl was in one episode of One Piece. I thought she was really good too. All the cast really took this seriously, which I appreciate. Even though it was a little teeny low budget and they knew it was going to come off hokey, at least they kind of put their heart and soul into it. I can't say anybody really just dialed it in. If anybody dialed it in, it was Lou Don Phillips. But he was only in a couple of scenes, and that was it. So the plot line, the moon is at a closer range to the Earth or something to that effect, and it caused the entire population to change. I don't really buy that. It should be certain people that are, that have the molecular structure or the DNA or whatever, the blood type. It should be something that causes this. But instead it was everybody. So just like The Purge, everybody's locking up their doors and things to that effect to try to, I guess, A, keep out of the moonlight if everybody changes, and B, keep anybody who does change out. Meanwhile, Frank Grillo, who's a microbiologist, buy that one, and Katrina Law, which I buy more, are trying to study the change, and they're trying to test this new thing out that's like a sunscreen but it's a moon screen. So they're spraying people with it to keep them from the rays of the moon from changing. Oh yeah, and the other guy that's in this, who I have worked with before, I think on Blade of Honor, is the guy from the old show Heroes. I think his name was Kyson or something to that effect. Really nice guy in real life. James Kyson. And so he's got a very small role in this too. So I think everybody just came in and did a favor for the most part. I don't really buy the whole idea of the entire population changing. It just doesn't work. And the guy who plays Cody, what I did appreciate too is that the werewolves, whatever they were wearing or whatever, they retained. So you could kind of tell who was who, especially when there's fights going on. And the guy who plays Cody, if anybody was over the top, it was him. He needed to really dial it back. He took me out of it a few times because his acting was just too over the top. He's like, he's just, doing weird body movements and things like that. Very jerky. It didn't fit. But again, my biggest complaint was the plot. that made no sense, but did I really expect it to? Not really. And they could have worked on it a little bit to make the lore a little bit more palatable. You know, and it should have been more supernatural than scientific, I think. You know, because you're changing by the moon. It's not really scientific. That's more supernatural. I think they should have gone down that road instead of, hey, I got a nose spray for you. At least I'm making that up, but it's sunscreen, and it only lasted for like an hour, so it wasn't really any good anyway. So it kind of failed. But yeah, so it was just a fun little. I'm going to the movies to watch Werewolves with a low budget where the effects are not that great, and the changing effects were kind of cool, but you could tell they were CGI, and then the face looked very rubbery, and that's why when I do mine, I'm going to do more practical makeup effects than having a big mask on, because I have a werewolf, or a single werewolf, not multiple. But Frank Grillo's fun to watch, and Katrina, I thought he and Katrina Law worked pretty well together. I'd like to see her do more stuff. I know she's doing very well on the TV thing, but I'd like to see her do a little bit more action-y stuff, even though I know she's a cop in the other thing. All right, well, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much more to talk about here. It's really, I kind of agree with the Rotten Tomatoes score, which is more like 50%. I think it's just very average. It's not even above average. It's really right on that line, if not below the line. But, for a little teeny tiny, production, I'm glad it got to go to the theater. And I'm going to support any kind of, low budget, because I'm going to be in that same boat where I'm doing, a $2 million movie, and it's going to appear that way. And I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. If you can, give me a subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you can as well. Ring that bell, ding, ding, if you want to subscribe and hear all my rants about movies, comic books, and television shows. Plus, don't forget to jump in on, I think we busted 100 people that have now signed up for basically to be subscribed for Green Hornet, about getting a notification about when we're going to be launching. So definitely jump into the link below, or you can just go to greenhornetnoir.com. All right. Thanks again, guys, and I will see you guys on the next episode. I'm not sure what that's going to be. I know Nosferatu's coming out. I'm not sure if I'm going to go see Y2K or not. I am, just for the fact that Rachel Zegler's in it, I'm trying to keep away from anything that she's doing. All right, anyway, I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.